Pixel Noggin.
Hi, my name is John W. Golden. I am a digital artist, and today I'm going to show you how I make fish illustrations with the computer. Let's start with a basic Photoshop document. This particular document is 12 by 18 inches, and I'm going to be using my custom brushes to paint in some of the texture that you see in my work. There's a couple ways you can view your brushes palette. One is the pull down palette from the menu bar. There you see a little square brush that I've made. Or you can go to the window menu and choose the brushes palette. And in the brushes palette, you can see a group of brushes at once. You can also adjust the size there. If you'll keep an eye out during the video for little annotations that I'm going to add that tell you keyboard shortcuts for sizing brushes, things like that. They'll be there for your benefit. Here you can see I've painted a blue square with a brush, and I've now chosen the eraser tool, and I can also use brushes with that to subtract from whatever I've painted. So I can do additive type work with the paintbrush and subtractive with the eraser. First thing I do is take my marquee tool and create my background. I like a little bit of a border on these things, so I'll leave about 1/4 inch usually while I'm working. Now to fill a space, you can go to the edit menu and choose fill, or you can hold down on a Mac the option key delete, and it'll fill with your foreground color. I use the pen tool to draw all my shapes for the fish. This is just an example shape to show you kind of how the tool works. You create lines, you have little handles you can adjust the shape with, and you can fill the shapes, which is what I do. This is the basic shapes needed to draw the outline of a Nassau Grouper. You have to select the pen tool. Using a keystroke modifier, you can select different paths, click on a button, and it will fill the selected path with your foreground color. And I'll continue to fill my paths until I have what's a recognizable shape of the particular fish. In order to deselect the paths that are here so they don't show up, you just click in a blank space in the path palette, and you're left with a layer here with a solid fish on it. You can kind of see this is the quality of the edges of a For the details that I draw on these fish, I use the lasso tool, create an organic shape. Pull up my palette for swatches, change the color. Can use the option delete to fill it. Deselect it, get rid of it, because that's just an example of what I do. And I'm using the lasso here to draw a little edge on the head of the fish here. And then we can go in and see a little closer our selected area. I'm going to use edit fill it with my foreground color. Now that's a nice heavy blue shape. What I want to do is give it some texture, and I do that by selecting the eraser, one of my brushes, and I give it a little tap there with a mouse click, and as you can see, it begins to take away some of the color, let a little bit of what is behind it show through. And I'm going to clear that out, and just like on a cooking show, show you a layer which I drew before. You can see I've added some other colors. I continued erasing the color a little bit just because I like it a little more subtle than the example I had. But you can see the texture starts to add a very painterly look to an otherwise flat color. One of the ways that I select areas to paint is to use my magic wand tool, select the transparent area on a layer, such as the fish body layer, go to the channels palette, click this little button here, and it creates a channel which I can save and bring back later to make a selection. What you can do then, using a selected channel in the channels palette, click this button. I call it the make selection from channel button, and you'll see it brought back a selection that is the shape of the fish. Then I can create a new layer that's an empty layer. Choose a new color. Go to my brush, into my brushes palette. Choose a nice textured brush. Go back out and get ready to paint. Now I'm not going to do that yet. You can see once the brush is over the file, the texture's there, but you'll be able to, I think, better see with a little time lapse here the different things that I added rather than having that big brush shape keeping you from being able to see. Now this is a selection I make with the lasso tool. These are the dark stripes I'm going to paint on there. I basically would take my brush, tap it inside these little highlighted areas, and you end up with a result like this. This is an additive process where I'm, going in with different colors of brown and adding the color in. Just some extra details here. Then I'll take a darker color of blue in my brush. I'll go in and create a background like that. This is basically done by, again, painting on with the brush, kind of like you do a rubber stamp almost. You can kind of see inside these yellow areas of the fish. I went in and selected and painted a blue. Again, I'm not showing the actual applying here because it tends to be a little difficult to see. Now all this piece needs is the name of the fish, and voila, there it is. Again, a layer I've already prepared, but you basically use the type tool, create the type, raster the type, and then you can use an eraser to beat it up a little bit, subtract a little bit from it. And there you have our fish. Just want to give you some little close-ups here. Kind of go around and see the detail. Even though we're using, digital means, we have some of the earmarks of more traditional methods. Just to show you a little bit more, sometimes I will add a final layer of just kind of grimy texture. Just makes it feel a little bit less digital. And now we should have a very interesting backwards time lapse here, where you sort of see the different layers of the fish pulled away. And that's it. I appreciate you watching. Hopefully I've given you a little insight into how I do my digital art. Thanks.
Pixel Noggin.